This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
There is a concerted effort right now in the Republican Party and the conservative movement generally to do two things. There's many other aspects to it, but the two I want to talk about today are these. They are to recruit, to indoctrinate a younger version of themselves to carry the torch. Didn't mean to go there with tiki torch language, but here we are. To carry their banner forward into the future. And the other is to incite violence, to bring into the movement a caliber and character of person who would visit violence upon others. There's calls for civil war. There are Nazis marching in the streets in various states. And this is no more relevant or pointed or demonstrative than the story I'm getting ready to read you, which is that billionaire-financed organizations are now inviting Lil Nazi Puke, Nick Fuentes, to meetings, to strategy meetings at political strategy organizations. Now I'm going to read from the Texas Tribune, which has this reporting. But first, as a matter of a little bit of criticism, they buried, a lot of people don't know who Nick Fuentes is. If you're not perpetually online like I am, or like many of you, you might not know. Excuse me, I'm fighting something with the voice. I woke up and it sounds like I'm a part-time morning zoo DJ with this voice. A lot of people don't know who Nick Fuentes is. So to bury this, maybe more than a dozen paragraphs into the article, what I'm getting ready to read, I think is a mistake. I think people need the reminder of who he is, what he stands for, what he believes, and what he states openly and publicly. First, here's the headline. Influential Texas activist Jonathan Stickland hosted white supremacist Nick Fuentes at Fort Worth office. The Texas Tribune also observed Texas GOP chair Matt Rinaldi outside the building, but he denied meeting Fuentes and denounced him. Here it is. This is what was buried deep into the article. I'll read first as a reminder if you don't know who the little Nazi puke Nick Fuentes is. Since rising to prominence on YouTube in the wake of 2017's deadly neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, Fuentes and his followers, nicknamed Groypers, have sought to normalize their racist, anti-Semitic, and misogynist views by constantly attacking other conservatives, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA from the far right. So Charlie Kirk, the radical, is not conservative enough for the Groypers, for Nick Fuentes and his merry band of morons who delight in their bigotry, who delight in their racism, and calls for violence. Fuentes, 25, has spoken often about that approach. He has questioned whether the Holocaust happened and said Hitler was really fucking cool. He has called for a holy war against Jews, Catholic Taliban rule, and killing the globalists. A proud incel, Fuentes has openly fantasized about marrying a 16-year-old because that's, quote, right when the milk is good, unquote. He has celebrated a growing wave of hatred and violence that he hopes will get uglier and a lot worse for Jews and others he deems inferior. And then finally here, a quote from Fuentes, "All I want is revenge against my enemies and a total Aryan victory." And people with money and influence and ultimately power are inviting him to strategy sessions, which is where the article now actually begins talking about. Jonathan Stickland, the ultra-conservative leader of a group that has donated millions of dollars to high-profile Texas leaders, hosted prominent white supremacist Nick Fuentes and other right-wing activists for several hours on Friday. Acting on a tip, a Texas Tribune reporter and photographer observed Fuentes and others, including Kyle Rittenhouse, who was acquitted of homicide after killing 2 Black Lives Matter protesters in 2020. They observed them enter a one-story office building in a remote business park in West Fort Worth. The building is the headquarters for Pale Horse Strategies, a consulting firm for right-wing candidates that is owned by Stickland. Fuentes arrived around 11 a.m. and left just after 5:30. Now, for those of you who don't know the pale horse reference here, it's from the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 8. And this is the scripture. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. The pale horse called Death. Why not name your political strategy organization after the pale horse from the Bible and the book of Revelation? Why not, right? Matt Rinaldi, the chair of the Republican Party of Texas and ally of Stickland, was also seen entering the building while Fuentes was inside. Reached by phone on Sunday, Rinaldi denied that he had any knowledge that Fuentes was on the premises and provided screenshots of text messages from Friday morning in which he rescheduled a meeting for 1:45 p.m. at the Pale Horse Death offices with the Texas GOP Executive Director Jen Hall. Quote, "We were just borrowing a conference room," said Rinaldi, who arrived at the office just before 1:45 and left 45 minutes later. He said of Fuentes, "I completely condemn that guy and everything he stands for. I would never in a million years meet with that guy." Asked if he would condemn Stickland or Pale Horse for hosting Fuentes, Rinaldi responded that he would disavow Nick Fuentes, but I'm not going to make assumptions based solely on the Tribune's reporting. Stickland did not respond to calls and text messages on Sunday afternoon. So they're hosting Nick Fuentes in their strategy sessions at their political strategy organization. For what purpose? You think they were giving him a finger wag? Hey, you better stop your nonsense, young man. Or do you think they want his advice on how to reach a younger demographic, how to radicalize young Republicans or young Republican curious individuals? This is what we face. There will be dirty tricks rolling into 2024 just before the presidential election. There always is. But there also may be violence at the hands of someone who advocates for violence, who takes meetings with organizations that are named after the pale horse of death and destruction and bringing justice by sword from the Bible. Democrats aren't hosting these people. These are Republicans. These are Republicans so radical that they think the radicals in their party are milquetoast. We have a problem in America that this little dipshit is offered influence and power, having dinner with the former president of the United States of America in his home. A little Nazi. What do you think? What do you think? You can call, leave me a brief voicemail, 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me, as always, daily@dollemore.com. I know I'm going to bring the trolls. Bring it on, you little cowards. I am okay. If you'd like to support my work, if you appreciate what I do, how I say it, whatever, I would appreciate you considering supporting what we do, producing what we do. Click the join button below this YouTube video. See what's involved to become a channel member. For $2 a month, you can help support what we do. You can click the super thanks button, or even better, you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. All those are great ways to help support what we're doing, help produce what we're doing, and support this channel. Help us grow and reach more people. Follow me on social media. I'm at Dollemore on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, all of them at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.